Ready to jump into the wild, dark world of one of fantasy's scariest creatures? Welcome back to Hidden Kingdoms, your go-to spot for all things magical and mythical. Today, we're exploring the rough lands of the orcs. These fierce warriors have charged through many realms, leaving behind chaos and tales of their might. From where they come from in ancient stories to how they've evolved in today's fan favorites, we're here to reveal their strong powers, sneaky strategies, and complicated societies. Whether you're a huge fan of Tolkien's Middle-earth or you fight hordes of orcs in your top RPG games, this journey will give you all the info you need about these legendary creatures. So, gear up and join us as we dive into the amazing and fierce world of orcs. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome adventures. Orcs are often seen as the picture of evil and darkness. They play an important role in the grand stories of Middle-earth. Known for their savager ways, mean tactics, and strong loyalty to dark masters, orcs are featured heavily in Tolkien's tales. In his works, orcs serve as key fighters for dark lords like Morgoth and Sauron. They take part in big battles against the free peoples of Middle-earth. Even with their bad reputation, there's a lot more to orcs than just being evil. The story of where they came from is full of mystery and tricky questions. To truly know who orcs are, where they're from, and what happens to them makes the tales of Middle-earth richer. Where do orcs come from? The origins of orcs spark a lot of debates and changes in Tolkien's stories. At first, he saw orcs as twisted elves corrupted by Morgoth, the first Dark Lord. This idea shows up in the Silmarillion. The story goes that Morgoth caught some early elves and through pain and dark magic turned them into orcs. This makes orcs seem sad beings with good potential turned evil. Tolkien once wrote that all those of the Quendi who came into the hands of Melkor were put there in prison, and by slow arts of cruelty were corrupted and enslaved. But here's where it gets tricky for Tolkien. If orcs once were elves, then weren't they just victims? This raises big questions about whether it's right to hunt them down when they had no choice but to serve a dark master. Later on, Tolkien thought about other origins for orcs too. In The History of Middle-earth, he shared different ideas. Maybe some orcs came from men or lesser spirits stuck in bodies. These new ideas change how we think about them, suggesting that not every orc was once an innocent elf. Tolkien said orcs were not made by Melkor. They had life and multiplied after the manner of the children of Ilúvatar. Goblins versus orcs versus Uruk-hai. Goblins. The word goblin is sometimes used instead of orc in Tolkien's works, especially in The Hobbit. Goblins are shown as cruel and clever creatures who can make nasty traps and weapons. They live in dark places like the Misty Mountains, where they dig and trap others to work for them. In The Hobbit, goblins catch Bilbo Baggins and his friends, showing how smart and bad they can be. Tolkien calls them cruel, wicked, and bad-hearted. Even if goblins seem scary, they're mostly just like regular orcs. It's more about context based on where they appear in Tolkien's wider world. Goblins often feel smaller and sneakier than standard orcs, working on tricks and tools. Orcs. The usual kind, standard orcs, are probably what you imagine if you think about these creatures. They're usually smaller than elves or men, but known for long arms and scary looks with sharp teeth. Standard orcs are mean, violent fighters skilled at war and causing harm. In the Silmarillion, It talks about how Morgoth made them down deep beneath Angband, where they grew strong in darkness. Regular orcs often make up parts of armies, serving Morgoth or Sauron during their battles against good people. They're loyal out of fear. They may hate their masters, but are too scared to rebel against them. As described, their hearts were of granite, their bodies deformed. They were strong and hideous. Uruk-hai. This group is a special breed created by Sauron and improved later by Saruman. Uruk-hai are bigger, stronger, and smarter than typical orcs. The cool thing is, they can handle sunlight better than regular ones too. So that helps them fight better, since many orcs fear light. In The Lord of the Rings, we see Uruk-hai fighting hard alongside Saruman. They were larger and more cunning than ordinary orcs. These guys are tough soldiers, able to face brave men and elves head-on. Can any orc be good? It brings up a big question. Can any orc be good? Can they change? Since many come from corruption, as mentioned before, thinking about good orcs makes us look deeper at good versus evil, a common theme in fantasy stories. In most parts of Tolkien's tales, though, it points out that orcs are usually seen as bad beings filled with hate for what is beautiful or good, a reflection from being created by Morgoth himself. As noted, the Orcs were restless and savage. Yet later writings show Tolkien was uneasy with saying any whole race was completely evil without a chance for redemption. He wondered if somehow there could be orcs who might change or improve, even if not discussed openly much before now. Tolkien said since Melkor could not create sentient beings, but only corrupt or pervert them, it seems clear that orcs were at one time capable of being redeemed. How do orcs breed? Breeding has always been a weird topic, so let's explore that too. Back in the Silmarillion, it appears that regular reproduction happens among orcs like among elves or men. But Morgoth's trickiness means he breeds large groups quickly for his armies. Tolkien explored even darker breeding stories later on, like showing breeding through unnatural sorcery combining captured elves/men, adding other creatures too. That fits Morgoth's twisted style perfectly. He elaborated, there must have been corruptions, beings made by valor but changed by power. Another twist comes from how Saruman did his breeding too. Mixing men with orcs creates Uruk-hai suggested within stories like Saruman began to breed Uruk-hai, which suggests safe methods combining old ones. Are Gundabad orcs different than normal ones? Now let's turn our eyes toward Gundabad. The mountain holds valuable status within OGRC kind too, which relate closely as notorious strongholds found especially northward territory, especially key around history culture. Discussing tough battles fought against enemies today, depicted at times being elite forces, such happening stories unfold over years, portraying this importance felt across Earth, Middle-earth, spaces, telling tales involving fierce warriors' triumphal paths, twists moving forward, displaying endless struggles, faced often validating grit, shown closely tied victories, driven inwardly fighting adversaries, needing careful crafting, understood along levels. Fighting willpower brought forth represented giving hope, near conscious arrangement synonymy, reaching unknown origins, affecting future maintained progress towards better understanding hidden values among shadowy, complex worlds. As described, the orcs from Gundabad being robust individuals showcasing great endurance, stirring thoughts, provoking ground made shifting each strikes, performing advances over threats encountered, so testing fortitude needed, whether ready-faced ever again. Having Mount Gundabad positioned perfectly serves also pushes schemes, driving points unlocked for movements, formed, strengthening gaps, positioned wealthier, securing openness, appearing enhanced, strategic status, delivering capabilities, reaching beyond those labeled ordinary, becoming paramount, enjoyable, discovering past shallownesses, lurking. Finally, what next happened following Sauron fell flat post-failure, witnessing extreme chaos, shattering everything tired, precariousness, extinguishing all bonded ranks, promoting harms, inflicted hopes retractively.